If you're working on a business idea right now, there's a decent chance you might be making this mistake. Spending weeks or months, building the project, designing the website, working on the logo, getting everything ready, and only after all that work asking the question that actually matters. Does anyone want this? Because before your first dollar, the goal isn't to build the perfect version of your idea. The goal is proof. Proof that people understand the problem, proof that they care about a solution, and most importantly, proof that someone might actually pay for it. In this episode today, we're going to talk about how to test demand for a business idea without building the whole kit and caboodle first. And this won't be just theory. I'll show you a few real world examples of entrepreneurs who tested demand, including me, before the business even existed. Because sometimes the smartest thing you can build early on is a test. Quick question before we jump in. If you're still pre-revenue, what stage is your idea in right now? Is it just an idea in your head or something you've been researching or something you've already started building? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to talk about it with you. Hi, I'm Matt. I've spent over 25 years building companies as a serial entrepreneur and helping small business owners navigate challenges and avoid costly mistakes. On this channel, I try to answer the questions most new entrepreneurs have using real world experience, not theory. Let me know how I can help. When people get excited about a business idea, their instinct is usually to start building. They design a product, they build a website, they start worrying about logos and colors and everything else. They try to make everything feel real and perfect. But here's the problem. None of that proves that there's demand. You can build a beautiful product that nobody actually wants. You can create a great service offering that nobody is willing to pay for. And unfortunately, that happens all the time in business because building things, it feels productive. Before your first dollar, your job isn't to perfect the business. Your job is to answer one simple question. Will anyone actually buy this? So if building the product isn't the goal early on, what are we actually looking for? That answer is signals. When you're testing demand, you're not trying to get perfect data. You're just looking for signals. Demand signals are just little pieces of evidence that the idea might work. And then you add them all together and things can really fall into place. These are signs that people understand the problem, they care about the solution, and they may eventually pay you for it. They may also look like people asking questions or wanting more information, people asking when it'll be available. But the strongest signal of all is someone asking, how much does it cost? Because curiosity is nice, but willingness to pay is what turns ideas into businesses. The good news is you don't need a finished product to test demand. In fact, many of the best tests happen before the thing even exists. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world. Let's say someone wants to start a garage organization business. Instead of buying shelving systems and tools and a trailer and maybe a big branded van, they can start much simpler. They post in a local Facebook group and say something like, I'm thinking about starting a garage organization business in the area. Would anyone be interested in a one-day garage reset? If 2 people respond, maybe the idea or the pitch needs a little bit of work. But if 10 people respond and 3 of them ask how much, those are real signals. And you learned all of that without buying anything yet. Another example, imagine someone wants to start a business helping people sell their unwanted items on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. Instead of building a website and setting up a full operation and renting space, they start by just testing the idea with a few friends or family or neighbors. They can say, if I handled photography and the listing and the selling and the shipping, would you be willing to split the profit? And if nobody says yes, that tells you something. That's a signal. But if 3 people say yes right away, suddenly you have inventory, customers, and a real world test of the idea. And you can figure out all the details as you go. The system can come later. The demand signal comes first. And sometimes the market will tell you the answer before the business even exists. I learned that lesson very early on in one of my first businesses. Years ago, I started a mobile entertainment company called Mad Matt's Entertainment. And our first big attraction was a large radio controlled NASCAR racetrack for corporate events and parties and promotions and fairs and festivals. And after I put a deposit down on the track, but before the track even showed up, I kind of got curious if businesses actually wanted something like that. So instead of building the whole business first, I ran a simple test. I sent postcards to a bunch of local businesses that I thought might be interested. Places that, had holiday parties or promotional events. Now here's the interesting part. At that moment, I didn't own anything. All I had was a deposit and the idea. So I sent those postcards out and I had no idea if the phone was even going to ring or if the whole idea would just fall flat. But within a short time, sure enough, my phone started ringing. 6 or 7 businesses reached out asking about it. And before the equipment even arrived, I already booked my first 4 events. That told me everything I needed to know. Not just that people liked the idea, but that they were willing to pay for it. And once I had that signal, well, building the rest of the business suddenly felt a lot less risky. The lesson here is simple. When I did it, I didn't need the finished product to test demand. I only needed proof that customers wanted the experience. And that's really what demand testing is all about. Not proving the whole business works, but learning enough to decide if it's even worth building in the first place. When you're testing demand early, you're really trying to answer 3 questions. First, does the problem actually matter to people? Second, are people actively looking for a solution? And third, are they willing to pay to solve it? If you can answer those 3 questions early, or at least start seeing signals, you dramatically reduce your risk. Because now you're not just guessing anymore. You're responding to signals from your customers, from the market. Sometimes these tests can be even simpler. Someone thinking about starting a dog training business might offer a few free training workshops at a local public park. Now, if they do that and nobody shows up, that's a signal. Maybe you need to rework the ad or where to post it, or maybe there just isn't interest. But if 20 dog owners show up asking about private lessons, well, now you just learned something very important about demand. So if you're sitting on a business idea right now, before you build the full product, before you spend months designing everything, ask yourself a simple question. How could I test demand first? Because the most powerful validation in business isn't compliments, it's customers. And the sooner you start finding them, the sooner you know you're building the right thing. I'm kind of curious about this too. If you're working on an idea right now, what's the simplest way you think you could test demand today or this month? Drop it in the comments and we'll talk about it. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing. And if you're working on a new business idea or have a question you'd like me to cover in a future episode, let me know. Drop me an email or put it in the comments. Now, take a breath. You got this. All right. What's next?